you shouldn't handle it. Abuse is it's a dominant trait. So there's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's mental and emotional abuse, and also verbal abuse. And I don't feel like those are situations that should be marriage. Yes, marriage is meant to be there for the long run, but you also want to be alive to be in that marriage and enjoy it, because all it takes is the wrong push, or the wrong words being said continuously over and over, and we're feeding on these things and we start to believe them and we start to react on them. So if at all possible, reach out for support. What I always say is try to get an unbiased party. So probably not somebody from your family or his, but someone that you can speak to. Maybe they're a counselor or they're a psychologist. So there's somebody that can help you with this situation, just to understand. And then also understanding if you want to be there. Sometimes handling the situation is not what we want to do. Some people stay for different reasons. Either they stay because their husband or their wife is the primary source of income, they stay because of children, or they just stay because they feel like they have nowhere to go. So before we even begin to figure out what to do, you need to understand where you are. Is this something that you want to deal with or live with for the rest of your life? Or is this something that you've decided that, you know what, enough is enough? I would like him to change, and you want to actually work on the marriage? Or it's something that you feel like you no longer want a part of because of the abuse or the type of abuse. So before you think about him, you need to ask yourself these personal questions, just to understand exactly where you are in the marriage. Because abuse doesn't get better. It actually gets worse. So you hear the things that I'll never do it again, or you're the reason why I hit you. It's because you did that. And that's nothing but blame. And, having someone constantly blame you for the things that you do, it doesn't make us feel good at all. So ask yourself, is this exactly what it is that you want to do and you want to stay in? If you want to stay, then stay. But make sure that you figure out the steps to make your marriage work. You have to understand what it is that you want as an individual. That's a part of self-care. Yes, you're married and there are two individuals, but those individuals, before they became a couple, are one person. So figure out what's important to you. Your life is sometimes more important than what people will say. Because if you stay in a marriage and something happens, people will talk. If you leave the marriage and nothing happens, people will also talk. So it's not about the outside world, but about what will best serve you as an individual. Our next question is, I am trying to cater and find ways of making things improve at home, and every guy wants sex before marriage. I'll answer the first question, which is you're trying to cater and find ways of making things improve at home. COVID-19, from what I know, no one has ever gone through this type of pandemic ever before, ever. So everyone is trying to process it, understanding how to go through it day by day, even though we're about 5 or 6 months in from different lockdowns all around the world. It's a new situation. It's okay to still be trying to navigate your way through this pandemic. Everyone doesn't have all the answers. So figure out what's important to you. If your mental health is important to you, then take steps into improving your mental health. Read a book, engage in activities that stimulate your mind and your soul. If it's learning a new skill, work on that, putting time aside, allowing there to be that work-life balance. The next question is, every guy wants sex before marriage. It may seem like that, but there's some guys that don't. You have to be able to know what it is that you want. Just because they want that doesn't mean that you have to give into that. Whenever I get couples that speak about, premarital sex, or individuals that are dating, what I always tell them is, what are your values? What are your beliefs? What are the things that you think are important to you? For some people, it is family. For some people, it's finances. For some people, it's education. For some people, it's it's relaxation and enjoyment. Figure out if the person that you're with, if your values align. Because oftentimes, if your values don't align, we end up attracting people that we may necessarily not need in our potential lives. Because if you feel like every guy wants this, also try to look into the type of people that you are either attracted to or are coming towards you, right? So is there something that you are exuding off of you that makes guys want to do this, right? Because you can only have control over yourself. My apology. You cannot want everyone to want or to feel the way you do. Sex is a part of who we are. It's been created, for procreation, so it's natural. But that doesn't mean that it's something that you have to give into. So whatever your beliefs and your values are, you have to ensure that you set those boundaries high, so that no matter who comes with whatever, if they want sex, you let them know where you stand. So yes, it's a natural thing, but that doesn't mean that we have to give into all our natural experiences or nuances. The next question is question 5. Staying at home during the lockdown wasn't so pleasing for me. I was bored, tired, and exhausted. Since I am not used to such routine, it makes me less productive. How can I help myself to be more productive? The most productive thing, to be is figure out what it is that you want. I remember a post that was going around on social media and on Instagram, when this lockdown happened, and how people were saying, if you don't learn a skill, if you don't need to read a new book, if you don't take an online course, if you don't do all these things during the lockdown, you're not making the best use of your time. Don't feel that pressure, because everyone is completely different. If it's something that you want to do, fine. Figure out who you are and pace yourself with that. So if you want to do it, great. Sometimes it's very hard. Like I said, the pandemic is something that we all got into together. No one has been through it before, so we were all trying to figure out how best to cope. So it was very difficult. We couldn't go see our friends. We couldn't go to work. We could not engage. We couldn't go out to restaurants. We were in the house. So it was very difficult for people to try to figure out, okay, so what next, right? You've watched all the movies, you've done all these things, but you just don't know what the next step is to take. So don't feel pressured. Life has pressures enough. Social media has enough pressures. Do what it is that's best for you to be able to move forward. So if you feel like you want to learn a new skill, then go ahead for it. If you feel like this lockdown is a period for you to just chill and relax because your job is very stressful, then do that. Don't allow the measure of society to be your measure. It should be individualistic and what exactly it is that you want. So if routines are hard, maybe routines may not be for you. Just figure out, today, this is what I want to do. So it may not necessarily be a time period from 9 p.m. to 5 p.m., but today I want to exercise. Today I want to cook a meal. Today I want to talk to my friends. Just write that down. And as the day goes on, try to make sure that you can achieve those goals. And even if you don't, the thing is ensuring that you are not hard on yourselves, because oftentimes we put pressure on ourselves, and then when we're unable to achieve them, we can become very stressed. So just do what works for you. Our next question is question 6. The inability to make ends meet and fend for self and family gives me psychological problems. And I think I am too anxious about getting into a relationship. I easily get emotional about prospective guys. Okay, so I think these are 2 questions, so we'll break them up. The first one is the inability to make ends meet and fend for self and family gives me psychological problems. Finances is a big factor in a lot of the things that we do. Although money shouldn't be everything, money also allows things to kind of sometimes go on very easily. So you need money to be able to pay your bills. You need money to be able to eat. You need money to be able to take care of your family and your children. And oftentimes, even now, people are dealing with so many things where finances and their jobs are not stable. So people are having to save or figure out what is the most important aspect of our times right now. So having those psychological issues and being anxious or stressed about money is actually natural, but it's the way we decide to react to that stress is what is telling on us. So yes, finances is difficult, but we shouldn't let that consume us completely. So if you know that money is your trigger or the lack thereof, what are you doing to combat that? Are you looking at extra ways to make income? Are you going into the acceptance approach where, yes, this is an issue, but I'm just going to accept, that things just may not change, and I'm okay with it, and and begin to kind of live on from that. You have to be able to figure out what it is that you want for yourself. And that's why I said earlier that self-care is the most important thing, being aware of exactly who we are and what it is that we want. The next part of that question is, I think I am too anxious about getting into a relationship. I easily get emotional about prospective guys. The truth is, it happens to all of us. It's personally happened to myself, and I'm sure that all the ladies can attest to that. Figure out what it is, again, that you want. Why is it that you are so anxious about getting into a relationship? Are you actually content with being with yourself? Do you love yourself? Because before you can give love to other people, you actually have to be able to love yourself. So are you actually okay with being alone? Or do you feel like you need and you crave companionship, and being single or being by yourself is something that you just feel like you can't do? So like I said, self-awareness is key. So going back to understanding why is it that I'm anxious about getting into a relationship? Is it because of my family background? Is it because my mom is a single mom? Is it because I wasn't raised with both of my parents? Is it because, I had some childhood trauma? You have to be able to identify what are the issues or the foundation of the problem that it is that you're having, because you're just not being anxious about getting into a relationship. Is it societal pressures? Are you listening to the fact that, hey, your biological clock is ticking, you need to get married, you're in a career, you need to settle down, you need to have children? What is it that's causing you to be anxious? And then you need to figure out, is that important to me? So yes, that's what society says, but is that what I want for myself? Like I said, before you can love anyone, your spouse, your friend, you have to be able to love yourself first. So being content with yourself is the first step into that, before you can actually relay that to another person. And the last part of her question is, I easily get emotional about prospective guys. Yes, it's natural, but check yourself. Why is it that you're getting easily attracted or emotional about them? Look at the guys that you're being attracted to. Is there some common denominator? Is there something that you see that is kind of the same box that you keep ticking off? Are you having daddy issues? Is there something that's making you attracted to this type of guy? So a lot of times people feel like sometimes the issue is the other person or the other thing, but it's more so ourselves. Why am I attracted to these type of people? Why am I emotional about every prospective guy? Why do I feel like every guy I meet is Mr. Right and he's my potential husband? Is it societal pressure that's making you feel like this? Is it the fact that you feel like you cannot be alone and you crave companionship? You have to be able to check yourself and figure out why it is that you are having these thoughts and process them. And question number 7, I prefer not to multitask, but to focus on a major task at once. Working from home, sometimes there are no boundaries and work could easily spill into family time. I often feel very guilty, and I wasn't paying enough attention to my family, and sometimes I was behind on my work. I think this is what we call work-life balance. And a friend of mine, Dr. Yates today, says it best. There has to be balance. You can have everything, but sometimes you can't have everything at the same time. So there's a time for work and there's a time for family. And as much as possible, we should be able to separate those two entities, just so that one entity or the other doesn't feel like they are getting the less. So yes, you're working to enhance yourself, to enhance your knowledge, to be able to build financial freedom and stability, but your children feel like mommy doesn't have my time, she's always working. Or your husband feels like, you're never around, you're always at work. So allow there to be that balance. Take breaks. Organize and strategize your time. If you feel like no matter what it is, 5 o'clock is my cutoff time, Set those boundaries and know that anything after that is family time. If it means cutting off your phone, if it means explaining to your employer, hopefully if they're an employer that, will be able to understand that, but set the boundaries that you want people to be able to respect, because people will only respect what it is that you put forth about yourself. So try to put that balance in place. Like I said, set a time. I try to do it as much as possible as well. For me, 7 p.m. is my cutoff time. Whatever isn't done work-wise will have to wait for the next day. I need to also be able to take care of myself and make sure that my family is, taken care of as well. So allowing there to be that workplace balance. Our next question is, I have been out of a relationship since 2018. It's scary and lonely, and I am also broke. So I think those two questions. Yes, being out of relationship since 2018, the loss of a relationship or a breakup can be very hard, especially on our emotional wellness and sometimes on our physical body as well. Enjoy yourself and your company. Sometimes it's not necessarily always about being with someone, but being with ourselves, learning to love yourself, learning to date yourself, right? Learning to spend that time and energy that you would normally give to another person and giving it to yourself, loving yourself, pampering yourself, taking yourself out on dates and doing all these things to build up your self-esteem and your self-worth, because that's very, very important. It's scary. Sometimes it's not easy to be alone. Naturally, we are built to have that companionship and be with someone else. But before you can give your best to someone else, you must be able to have given yourself that best as well, right? So you have to be able to ensure that, whether I'm alone, I am content with being alone. I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it. I don't feel like I need someone to fill that void. Because oftentimes when we have those voids in our lives, we keep putting things. So it's like putting a round peg into a square hole. It will never fit. No matter how much you try to force it in, it will never go, because that's not what's meant to fill that void in the first place. You have to figure out what that void is, why you fill that void, and then work on the steps in getting yourself to be better. The next question is very close to the same one I just answered. I'm healing from a heartbreak. How can I balance mental health? And at the end of this program, I will be able to handle all or most of my mental stress. Like I said, self-awareness is key. When you understand how you stress, why you stress, and the triggers that make you stress, you'd be able to cope with them better because you already know when they're coming. So when the headache starts to function, you realize, okay, my body's trying to tell me that we're getting to that point. So you're able to check it. When you're healing from a heartbreak, sometimes what we try to do is fill that void with something else, whether it's work, sometimes another relationship. We try to do all these things to fill the voids without actually trying to make sure that we have healed as an individual. Because what I also find, also working with couples, is when you're hurt, if you don't heal from that hurt and you quickly try to jump into a relationship or jump into another thing without processing that hurt and that pain, what you do is you end up hurting other people. The term is very common. Hurt people, because you are not completely whole, or you will actually take out whatever stresses that you have onto this new person. You'll bring your baggage that's been unresolved into this new relationship, and then you'll begin to have other issues. So especially when dealing with a relationship, what I advise women, and everyone is different. After a relationship, take some time for yourself, 6 months to a year, to just heal, to understand the dynamic of the relationship, where things went wrong, not only what went wrong with the other person, but also what is wrong, what part you probably have played into that relationship as well. Because it's very easy to point the finger and say, well, this is the reason why this happened. And even if there isn't something that you caused in making the relationship break, there'll be some points and topics that you would say, I've learned this. And these are lessons that I can now take on moving forward. So now I know what I will not tolerate. Now I know what my pet peeves are in a relationship. Now I know the things that I'm actually looking for. So I would advise 6 months to a year to try to figure out what it is and what has happened. The next question is, part of that also question is, I want to be able to handle all or most of my mental stress. Mental stress, if it isn't taken care of, it becomes anxiety or depression. So figuring out what are the things that are causing that stress, and working on them. So if you realize that I'm very anxious or I'm worried, like I said, get out of your head, talk to someone else, learn to be accepting of the issues that you're experiencing, you're going through. Because no matter if you worry today, for the next 15 days, that problem will always be there. So sometimes letting things go and then coming back to them when you have a clearer mind and a head sometimes helps. The next question is very similar as well. I want to learn how to cope with challenges. We all face different challenges in our life, some very small and very big, all from a divorce to an abusive relationship, to a stressful boss, or to children, that are trying to figure out how to navigate COVID, a husband that's demanding, family that's demanding. We all have challenges. But the common denominator in all of our challenges is ourselves. So first of all, identify what those challenges are. Figure out which challenges can I actually work on. Some of those challenges you may not be able to do anything. You may have to accept the fate of what is, and say, okay, you know what, this one I've left it. If you have that spiritual backing and belief, and you're a Christian, or depending on whatever your belief is, put those requests and those things into the hands of that superior being. Right? There's some things that are not all meant to be resolved. I had to learn that too. Everything can't be fixed. Some things that are broken are meant to be broken. They're meant to be left like that. And you fixing them, it may not be your cross to carry. It may not be your burden to carry. And you have now taken on someone else's problem, or this issue that wasn't even yours in the beginning, and you now begin to feel stress. You hear things like, I'm drained, and I'm tired, and I have no more energy for this, and I didn't want to do this in the first place. But we have to ask ourselves, who asked you? Is it a project that you took on yourself because you wanted to show that you could do everything? Or because oftentimes that's what it is. No one actually asks us to do it, but we want to show everybody that we're superwoman, but what happens is burnout. Yeah. And once you burn out, it's very different from stress. Stress you can still manage. Once you're burnt out, and you have nothing to give. And it takes a longer time to kind of recuperate ourselves and get back to where we were. The next question is, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can. How can I deal with issues of being locked down on without being disrespectful? So I don't really understand. I feel like there should be another part of that question. How can I deal with the issues of being locked down? Are you referring to COVID-19? If you're on the platform and you've asked this question, can you please just kind of give me a better understanding of exactly what it is that you're trying to ask? How can I deal with the issue of being looked down on? Okay. How can I deal with the issue of being looked down on without being disrespectful? Please give me a little bit more insight on what you mean by looked down on. Is it from a relationship? Is it from your peers? Are you looking down on yourself? I want to actually understand the nature of that question before I answer it. So again, the question is, how can I deal with this issue of being looked down on without being disrespectful? The next question is work-life balance, which seems to be a popular question throughout this whole thing. Some personal strategies that I would say, and like I said, I will make sure that everyone has this worksheet once we're done, is your personal strategies for stress management in the workplace. Set realistic deadlines and timelines for yourself. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I can get it done, I can do all these things, but we can't do them all at the same time. So set realistic timelines. Take a break. Take a lunch break, take a mental break, and kind of take time to step away from the task that you're doing so that you can process that what you need to do when you're not under stress. Also go home on time. Learn to go offline. Learn to separate family time from work time, so there's that separation. Leave work at work. or within those designated hours. So I know sometimes being in Nigeria, if you work 8 to 5, that could be 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whenever your boss sends you a message. But we have to learn to set boundaries for ourselves so that people can respect them, without feeling like we're not doing our jobs. Respect others. If possible, also seek help. Being a psychologist, I'm very big on seeking therapy to manage and develop skills to cope with workplace stressors, family stressors, etc. Oftentimes in counseling, people feel like we advise people. We say, hey, do this, that, and the third. Honestly, it's against our ethics. At least, being trained as a psychologist in the United States, we don't necessarily tell you what to do, because we can be held liable for that. What we do is we help you gather your thoughts and the things that you are now outpouring on, and we assist you in putting it together to best serve you. So I'm hearing these things and I'm putting it back to you. So for example, if I say, okay, Jace, I hear you saying that you're very, very unhappy. When your mother-in-law comes to your house, you feel like your husband changes towards you. Is that what I'm hearing you say? So what would you like to happen in that situation? If you could paint the perfect picture of how you would want your husband to react, what would it be? Right? So I'm putting the information that you're giving right back to you, and then I'm letting you give me the answer of what it is that you would want in this ideal situation. So you don't hear me saying, don't take that from her, that's your husband's house, do this. And no, a psychologist, a trained psychologist or psychiatrist will never do that. What we do is we will pose the question back from you. So is this what I'm hearing you say? Just so that there's clarity, just so then I also don't assume. And then say, what's the ideal? What would you want to happen? And then you would tell me I would want this, this, and that. And I say, so how do you think that we can get through those steps? How can I help you get through those steps? How can I help you and your husband be on a better kind of level plane of communication to be able to deal with it? Would you like you and your husband to set boundaries for who comes over and when they come over and how we discuss issues in front of people? So in all of that, it's not me advising you, but me helping you gather your thoughts together to be more productive in how you think. Also developing a healthy work-life balance, creating time for other things. The next question we have is, I want to learn how to manage stress in my workplace and people around me. How to make, I think the next question is, how to make financial decisions and family life balance. Like I said, balance is very important, and you have to be able to figure out what that balance looks like to you. You know best. If you're someone that can manage things effectively, fine. If you're someone that's having a hard time, what I always say is ask questions. Kids are very, very innocent beings, and they will tell you how it is without sugarcoating or filtering the truth. What do you think about mommy's job? Do you think mommy has time for you? And some kids will say, no, you're always on the computer, you're always on the phone. That's all you do all day long. Children will tell you. So ask questions, to the people that you can feel the most vulnerable with and trust, so that you can kind of get another perspective of how people are viewing you. Because for you, you may feel like, I'm balancing everything perfectly. I'm managing my husband. I'm doing everything. And they're saying, yes, you're doing it, but you're not doing it as effective as we would want, or you're not giving us that much attention, and this is what we want. Everything is about balance. Everything also is about compromise. So figuring out what that compromise looks like from your family, from your children, from your husband. Let's see. How can I manage stress in the workplace and the people around me? Before wanting to manage the people around you, the first thing is managing yourself. It always goes back to you. Yeah. It's very difficult to hold people accountable for themselves. But I can hold myself accountable for Jessica and say, okay, you know what? How am I managing myself? Am I actually working productively? Because it's very difficult to say, hey, Jace, I want you to do this, and I want you to manage this. And you could probably say, you don't know what it is that I'm going through at home. You know, I have 3 children, one that's special needs. I have a husband that's living abroad, you know, and I'm trying to work and fend for my family. So my stresses are not yours, you know. So before you begin to want to work on other people, focus on yourself and what it is that you can actually manage. The next thing I would say in that is we need to learn to be empathetic. You know, because we all are going through this pandemic together. Even though, you know, the lockdown started in March or in February, depending on what country you're in, none of us have ever been through it before. And even though it's August, we're still trying to figure it out. And some people have done it seamlessly, right? Because they're multitaskers and they thrive with routine. And then some other people are finding it very, very challenging and very difficult, you know, because even if they had to work at home, they didn't have to deal with a 4-year-old that has to do homeschooling, and a husband now that's home, you know, that maybe wasn't helping before and now definitely isn't helping, you know. So there's so many other things. Try not to be hard on yourself. I think that would be the biggest takeaway. Try not to be hard on yourselves, because oftentimes we put too much pressure on ourselves. I have to do this, 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 this. No, it will be nice. Yes. It will be great. Yes. But is it ideal? Sometimes no. So even when we set goals, I always say in setting future goals, also set small achievable goals. So yes, I want to take an online course and study what meditation is like, or studying business management. That's my long-term goal. The short-term goal would probably be going online and looking at all the courses that are available. So before even registering for the class and committing myself and my time to it, my first baby step would be going online and look at what type of business management courses are out there. How much time do I actually have to commit to this in a day or in a week? Taking those baby steps first before we reach our goals, because everything is a process, right? Oftentimes when we're traveling, we're excited about, oh, I'm going to Dubai, oh, I'm going to South Africa, oh, I'm going to Ghana, oh, I'm going to Nigeria. I'm excited, I haven't seen my family. We're so excited about the destination. But oftentimes we don't sit down to enjoy the process of getting there. Because all we're focused about is this is what I have to do. I have to get there. I'm looking forward to this end goal. And we miss the process and everything that we learn about ourselves, even through that process. You may realize that I'm not the most patient person, and I need to learn to be more patient. You may learn that, okay, while I actually like these things, so getting to the destination is not the only focal point. We also must learn to enjoy the process of actually getting there, because we can miss so many things along the way. The next question in that question is how to make financial decisions and family life balance. Financial decisions they're unfortunately independent on you, right? So I cannot give a general kind of forethought on that. But what I would say is, you know, finances are important, but they're not everything. There's some people that have money that are not happy. You know, so that should be a food for thought. So yes, money helps a lot of things be go a lot smoother, and it helps it to kind of flow easier. But money is not everything. Financial decisions that we make, if we have a partner or we have children that are, you know, grown enough to be able to make decisions with us, sometimes putting these problems or things that we have to other people and getting their insight. Now, if I say, hey, Jace, this is what I'm thinking about this financial situation. What do you think? I'm getting your opinion and what you think. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to take your advice, but at least I have allowed someone else that is not in my head, that doesn't already have preconceived notions of this money that I'm talking about, to give me their own insight. And then I may be able to say, okay, hey, I didn't actually think about it that way. That's helpful. Okay, thank you. I'll take this 2 bits, but I probably won't take that other one because it doesn't resonate with who I am and what it is that I'm doing. You know, so if it's someone that you can trust, and when I'm saying, you know, have these vulnerable conversations, I'm not saying have these conversations with every single body. Mm-hmm. There has to be at least 1 or 2 people that you trust with everything and that you can be completely vulnerable for. This is not somebody that's a yes man. This isn't somebody that every time you bring something, they say, yeah, yeah. I mean, they tell you what you want to hear. This is a person that actually challenges you and says, yes, I think, what you're saying is correct, but you may need to look into this other aspect as well. The next question is, I want to learn how to take care of me, just not everyone else. I want to learn how to balance the major demands of my person and still remain my sanity. So this will be a question that I guess I will share a little bit of my journey, because that's me. I am a nurturer. I have a younger brother with autism that I have been taking care of since I was 6 years old, and I will be 35 in 2 weeks. So I have been taking care of Alex for the last 29 years, and Alex is all I know. It's the reason why I got into, this field. It's the reason why, I thrive in what I do, because before I became a professional, I was a sister, and I learned everything that I learned as a sister before I now turned it into a profession. But I always put everything and everybody before me. And what ends up happening is not that I was doing it because I wanted something, but just because that's naturally who I am. We're givers in our family. It's how my parents taught me to be, and it's how they are. But what I realize is that when I give, I burn out very quickly, and then I become resentful. Because then it's like, but I've been doing this all this while. You have never thought to help, so it becomes now resentment. And so that's why I always ask you, what you're being asked to do. Did someone actually ask you to do it? Or it's that you're doing it yourself? What I realized that I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make sure that everyone was happy around you, even if that meant that I wasn't happy. I would carry your burden and help you sort through your problem and be carrying a cross 10 times heavier than yours. But if I could fix your problem, I felt fulfilled. I felt that there was some type of contentment and peace that I would get. But once I helped you fix yours, I would close the door and then be left with my mountain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in order not to deal with my mountain, I would find somebody else that needs a problem that needs to be fixed. And I kept doing that until my mountain kept getting taller and bigger, to the point where it was unmanageable. And then I was now left to deal with this stuff all by myself. And then it was now, literally, it was me with my back against the wall, with the inability to be able to process everything that was going on around me, because I was so used to doing for other people. I didn't even know what it looked like to be there for myself. So even at this age of 35, I am still in the process of learning what life is without my brother. Learning what it means to, what does Jessica like? So not what society deems is appropriate for me, what society deems is appropriate for my age group, that I should be married, that I should have children, but what do I want? Success for me isn't marriage. Success for me also isn't money. Success for me is making other people happy. Success for me is ensuring that all the families that I come in contact with that have children with disabilities, that their children in the tutelage of working under me or working with me, see their children 5 years later and say, wow, my child has improved. Or I can help a person through counseling and therapy, or couples, and they can have a better marriage or a better relationship, or better, and you learn better self-care tips. So those are the things that I measure as success. Marriage is not success to me, because there's people that are in marriages and they're not happy. So figure out what success and happiness means to you. Yes, it's very easy to be tied up in what society says, and that's just because we allow it to. So going offline and shutting down the world is sometimes what we need to do, and face what the reality is for ourselves. What is it that I want for myself? No matter what it is, no matter what it looks like, this is what I want. So if it doesn't happen, I can only have myself to blame. I can't say, well, this is what my aunt wanted for me, and now that it didn't happen, it's her fault. No, it's easy. It's always easy to point the finger, but it's sometimes not easy to actually look into ourselves and say, the reason why this happened is because of me. I allow this to happen. And now what are the steps that I'm going to take? So please, by all means, take care of yourself. You have to be intentional about it. And that's the key word, intentional. Because I still find myself wanting to do for other people. And what has happened now is my no's are met with opposition and challenge. When I say, no, I can't do that. But why? But you always do that. I understand, but now I'm not doing that. Or I don't have the time for that now, but I'll let you know if it's something I can do. So setting those boundaries. The next part of setting those boundaries is also not feeling guilt for saying no, because that's the next thing that comes. Yeah. Right? You set your boundaries and you say, no, I'm not going to do this. And then your mom sends a message to say, you know, I really wanted you to talk to your sister, but you said you're busy and you not feel guilty and then want to do it. Be okay with setting your boundaries and saying no without feeling guilt. It's a very important thing, because oftentimes we guilt ourselves into doing things a lot. So it's okay to feel like, you know what, yes, I told them that I can't make this meeting, and or I cannot come for this lunch, or I can't come for this baby shower, and be okay with it. And be okay with it. Even if the person challenges you with it, say, you know what, unfortunately, it just didn't fit in my schedule and my time. And sometimes also it's not giving the person, feeling the need to explain, because oftentimes as women, we always feel the need to explain. Well, this is why I couldn't make it, and this is why I couldn't come, and my children were busy with homeschool, and I had to do that. I can't make it. I'm so sorry, but I can't make it. Okay. And that should be enough. You know, don't feel pressured into explaining every single thing unless you absolutely have to. Okay, and our last question on this sheet is, how can I manage stress more? Managing stress more is a lot of what we said earlier. Figuring out how you stress, right? So do you get irritable? Do you start to yell and scream? Do you start to overeat? After you figure out how you stress, the next thing is, what are some of the signals that your body gives you when you're stressing? Do you start to, you know, get a tummy ache? Do you start to get headaches or migraines? And then also, what is causing me to be stressed? My finances, my family, my boyfriend, my husband, you know, my business relationship with my best friend. Then how do I actually want to manage that stress? Is this something that I can actually take an action on? Like stepping back and getting a third party to help us manage our business so that our friendship doesn't, you know, end up being damaged. That's action orientation. The next thing is emotional. So yes, normally when I'm upset, I start to talk down to myself. I start to say negative things. Emotion response would be, yes, this is not going the way that I want it to be, but I'm going to remain happy irrespective of whatever it is. I challenge that negative thought with a positive connotation. So yes, I'm upset. Yes, I'm angry, but I am going to be happy. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I am locked in the house. Yes, COVID hasn't allowed the cinema to be open. Yes, I'm unable to make the money that I've been making, but thank God I've been able to spend time with my family, because I've never been able to spend time with my children like this. Or thank God for the vacation that I've been wanting for the last year. I finally got it. You know, I got a whole 3 months of it, but I got it. So challenge those negative thoughts as soon as they come, process them. Don't try to sweep them under the rug, because anything you sweep under the rug, once you lift the rug back up, whether it's a month or a year later, that dirt will still be there. It didn't move. Mm-hmm. It's hidden, so you feel like you don't have to deal with it. But then the minute you move it, you will see it and it comes right back. And you now have to deal with it along with all the other things that you do. So my biggest take home with this is, deal with whatever the stress is, process it. So I'm not happy with the breakup. Process the breakup. How does the breakup make you feel? What do you feel like were his issues in the relationship? What are the red flags that you feel like that you didn't pay attention to? What are the things that you learned about yourself in the relationship? What are your pet peeves? What are your values? What do you believe? What is the type of person that you want? Are you also what you want out of someone? Because it's enough to say we want this person to be A, B, C, and D, but do I actually have anything to give to this person? Process it. Process it, deal with it, and then let it go. But pushing it aside and not dealing with it never works, because it will always resurface. It'll always, always resurface. So I think that's all the questions that I have here. I don't know if you have any additional ones or any other thing that you would like me to speak on.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica. Very
You're very
quickly, you
welcome.
were asked, so there was this question about people talking down on,
Okay.
yes, so I had to, the team had to get it from the form. So
Okay.
we're not sure who it is because we made it open that they should, it could be anonymous. So I think this
Okay.
person put her name in. But, and this is a full question. So she says, when people talk to me anyhow, I respect people a lot, but I get stressed out and angry when the people I respect talk to me anyhow and even look down on me. This happens a lot with my family members. I want to learn, unlearn, and relearn the act of building effective relationships. Also, I want to gain knowledge on how I can deal with the issue of being looked down on without being pushed
Okay. All right. The first thing that's always important when we speak about our personality traits and our characteristics is our response, right? So sometimes it's not it's not what someone says, it's our response to it. And oftentimes you don't have to answer to a name that's not yours. So if someone sees me on the street and they say liar, and they say Jessica is a liar, I don't need to turn around because I don't identify myself as that.
Okay.
We have to be able to get to a point where we don't allow the things that people say to affect us, no matter what it is. I'm not saying that it won't sting. I'm not saying that it won't hurt. I'm not saying that it won't feel like, wow, really you? I thought we were close, but it shouldn't justify our response. We literally have to be able to tame our tongue. Everything doesn't deserve a response. So what I always tell people is, yes, if someone does something to me, I can forgive them, I can let them go, I can let it go, but my forgiveness doesn't equal relationship. So just because I forgive you for what you said to me or how you treated me, doesn't mean that I have to have anything to do with you going forward. And I shouldn't feel bad about it either, because we have to be able to curtail the people that we allow into our life. Everyone shouldn't have complete access and direct access to you. And also we have to be careful with the things that we share, because oftentimes the things that you share in your time of weakness, in your time of pain, in your time of vulnerability and shame is what sometimes people often say back to us when we least expect it. And then we now respond. But had we had kept that thing to ourselves, if we probably wouldn't be in that position. Now that doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes we need to ensure that the people that we're talking to, we can actually be vulnerable with them without thinking that, okay, if I tell this girl this, if we fall out in 6 months, is she going to tell someone else? Mm-hmm. And if she may, we also need to figure out, is this thing something I actually need to talk about? Because you don't have to talk about everything. Yeah. So when you're being looked down upon, it's not a positive thing. It doesn't feel good. But if someone says, Jessica, I just feel like you're disrespectful. If you decide to respond, it could be, like I said, what we talked about was emotional approaches. So this person says that I am always angry. No, I love everyone. I'm a beautiful person. I have a peaceful soul. Challenge that negative response with your positive one. So if they're looking down on you saying that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, tell them I am more than enough. I am actually more than enough. I'm worthy. Unfortunately, you don't feel that I am, but I know that I am worthy, because what you're doing is you're challenging that negative connotation and that response. So yes, you feel like I'm ugly. That's your personal opinion. I, on the other hand, feel like I'm very beautiful.
Very beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Sure. I don't, and it should be that, and walk away. We also have to be able to understand how to pick our battles. Sometimes every battle is not meant to be challenged. Some things you just let go, because the more you, in psychology, we call it behavior modification. It's called extinction. The more you ignore the more you ignore a behavior, the less it occurs. Yeah. So this person is constantly saying something to you. Okay. No problem. Sorry you feel that way. Or sometimes not even saying anything at all, not even giving them that justification or that energy that you're even indulging what it is that they're saying. So pick your battles wisely. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Also, when a negative response comes to you, challenge it with a positive one. It's unfortunate that you feel like I'm lazy, but I'm actually a very hard worker. I'm very determined and I have a lot of perseverance when it comes to these things. Or just don't respond at all. We have to be able to pick our battles and know when we should respond and sometimes when we should let it go. So if people are looking down on you, if you are believing it, then that's a you problem. So forget now the people that are actually saying these things to you. For some reason, you are believing them. That's when it goes back to self-awareness. Why is it that when this person told me that I am not good in relationships, I believed it? Why did I believe what they told me? Is it because I've had a lot of bad relationships? Is it because I'm not married? Is it because my parents have had bad relationships and I'm so desperate to be in another one that once I break up with someone, I get into another one, or I don't allow myself to heal? Why is it that what that person said triggered a response inside of me? You need to be able to check yourself and figure out why. So like I said, sometimes it's not even about the other person, it's about you. Why did that comment hurt me? Is it because I think of myself that way? Or is it because I'm dealing with experiences in my life where I'm still trying to figure out if this is what I believe about myself? Process it, challenge those thoughts, deal with them, and then let them go.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jessica.
You're very welcome.
But then, so in the chat, okay, ladies, I've opened up the chat. I locked it up initially because I wanted us to focus on what she was saying. So you could use the chat box now if you have any questions. Dr. Jessica, I don't know if you could give us a few more minutes.
No problem, no worries.
Okay, ladies, now it's your time. Please use the chat box and just type in any question that you have. But someone, Dr. Jessica, earlier, someone was saying, I'm trying to go down to it. So she talked about that she usually gets stressed and that, just the men going to look for something in a particular shop and realizing that it's not there and that she needs to go elsewhere, it just stresses her.
So how to deal with that? I think in life we have to be able to learn to cope with and understand uncertainties. Just because you went to Renee's supermarket and you bought Ribena yesterday doesn't mean that when you go there this evening at 5 o'clock, the same thing will be there. There are ups and downs in life, but we have to be able to accommodate inconveniences and challenges and not necessarily make them a big deal, because oftentimes it's us. If you really need this thing, then yes, go get it. If it's something that you can wait on, then do that. But saying, oh, I'm so stressed out, the fact that I have to go to another store to get this thing, I shouldn't have to do it, it should be here, I already called. Sometimes going with the thought that no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to control my behavior the way that I think. And no matter what happens, I'm going to be as positive as possible. What we call that in psychology is modeling. So for example, I know that today I am going to the store to buy hair gel. If I go to one store and they don't have this hair gel, the next thing if I go to Hubmart and they don't have hair gel, I'm going to ShopRite. If I go to ShopRite and they don't have it, I'm going to go to Ebonone. If I don't see it at Ebonone, then I'm going to go home and maybe look for some online vendor to do it. I am modeling, before leaving my house, the things that I am going to do before I actually leave, so that if I get to that first supermarket and it's not there, I have already told myself that if I don't see it in one place, I'm going to the next place.
Oh, great. Okay. Dr. Jessica, are you still there? Okay. I think it's a network issue right now. And the network has been good, yes. So we're just having this now, and it's interesting. Okay, so while Dr. Jessica is trying to connect back, so Ibufuro says, awesome delivery, ma'am. I'm taking a lot away already. God bless you, beautiful heart. Thank you, Ibufuro. Okay, so we have a question here. Okay, as soon as she comes on, I'll let her know. So Christina Ekanen says, Many thanks, Dr. and Jace. Amazing session. Have a blessed evening. Have a blessed evening too, ma'am. Nikki says, well done, Dr. Jessica. You're amazing. I'll sure tell her that. I'm sure she'll be back now and she'll hear that from you. Yes, thanks, Dr. Jessica. I'm healed already. Amen. Great. SW Divine. I like that. Positive. Okay. I love you, Dr. Jessica. Oh my God. Mfon, I sure will let her know that. Thank you. Yes, so please, ladies, use the chat box if you have any other questions. Oh, Tosi sent lots of love. Great. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. I picked a word from what you said. I should be ready to accept uncertainty. Please, what do you call the concept? So something just came in. Oh, there's a lot coming. I need to go back. Okay, what did you call the concept? Madeline. Madden. Okay, she's going to come on. We're going to ask her that. That was a good one. I learned a lot, setting up boundaries and not being too hard on myself. Yes, Tiffany, I got that too. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Peace, great. Tiffany, thank you so much, ma'am. Omawumi Senkoya, lovely teaching. Thanks, Dr. Jessica. Thank you, SWJ. Thank you, Miss Tiffany. Love to Dr. Jessica from SW Port Harcourt. I know you. You have come here with your SW Port Harcourt thing. Oh, great. Ufoma says, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. Great. Wonderful session, Dr. Jessica. This is really an eye-opener. Excellent. Thank you, Adenike Adeyemi. Amazing session. Thank you, Dr. Jessica. Deborah Akweji says, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. It's been an amazing time. We need to be confident in who we are and not allow negative comments affect us. Thank you once again. Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, so we have, I really learned to be open to uncertainty so as not to be put down with any unnecessary stress. Exactly. Unnecessary stress underline. Yes, Ifoma says, please, is there a special way or strategy for managing stress related to chores? Okay, so all of this new questions that we're getting, this is just to let you know that we have another class tomorrow on stress and anxiety with Dr. Bolanle. She's a clinical psychologist too. So, I mean, if we don't get your questions answered by Dr. Jessica today, just know that we're carrying over to tomorrow and it's going to be answered. So please, Ufoma, just hold on. Ufon says, thank you so much, SWJs. We meet next Friday night. Oh yes, thank you for this. We meet next Friday night for Temila Day series. Excellent, yes. Okay, she says, okay, Lola is answering, modeling. That's what the concept is called. Thank you very much, Lola. Thank you so much, Grand Prime Pro. Thank you too, thank you. A wonderful sessions. We'll be here next meeting. Excellent. Yes, you should be here for the next meeting. Also, let me take this time to announce while all of these wonderful texts keep coming in. We have another session in the next 30 minutes. It's the nitty-gritty of personal finance. It's at 7 p.m. It's at 6 p.m. Yes, you don't want to miss that class. You want to learn how to budget and invest, in this period that we're in. So please don't miss that class. Yes, in fun, we meet next Friday night, of course. And we have, she's so concise and intentional about her words. Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. That's from Tilokme. Exactly. It's fine, Mama. Great. Okay, that's for tomorrow. Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica, especially for the quotes. Don't answer to the name that is not yours. Thanks for the meeting. Oh, you're welcome, Miriam. Thank you. What else is for today? I just said it. Today, 6 p.m., we have the nitty-gritty of personal finance. I think professional is the word. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, Titi. Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. That was a wonderful session. Wow, I'm blessed. So glad I met this session. God bless you. Thanks so much, Dr. Jessica. Okay, modeling, thanks. Oh yes, Imelda, it was just as promised. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica and Mama Jace. Excellent. Thank you. All right, ladies. Dr. Jessica couldn't make it back. For the other questions, I promise you we have another session tomorrow on mental health with Dr. Bolanle. You don't want to miss that session. It's going to be great and greater. Of course, there's always something, to learn from when they are here. Okay, I see that Dr. Jessica is here. Can we please allow Dr. Jessica answer this question? Dr. Jessica, it's good you're here. So let me find it. Ufoma, it was from you, right? That question was from Ufoma. So Dr. Jessica, you had a lot of love sent to you by some of the ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so it was Ufoma. I'm trying to look for it. Ufoma, could you send it again quickly so I'll just read it out. I'm sorry, ladies, I'm very close. I should find it soon. Wow, we had lots. Ufoma, could you help me please retype the question again? So it will just help me. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, ladies. Okay, I think she sent it again. Okay, yes. Adenike asks, how do you manage anxiety for an elderly person? Sorry, Dr. Jessica, we can't. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I think anxiety for an elderly person, there's so many factors that come into play, and I think it actually deals with everyone. So, for example, if you're dealing with someone that has a traditional background, that there's some things, for example, maybe being a housewife is what they've been, figure out who you're dealing with, right? In order to manage that stress well. So it's always very important to figure out what exactly are they going through. So asking questions. So sometimes also listening helps. So, oftentimes when we want to be there for people, we feel like, okay, you're actually listening to respond, but you're not actually listening to understand. And that's what I always tell people. It's not that I don't want to say something, but I want to listen so I can understand exactly what you're saying. We shouldn't be so quick to listen. You know how it's like, okay, I want to say something. Just let me say something real quick. That means you've actually not really listened to what I'm saying because you were so bent on responding to that one thing that everything else is past. So when dealing with an elderly person, figure out who they are, what they are, the best time to talk to them. Dealing with anxiety, it could be in a bunch of different ways. So let me give my mom, for example. My mom is in her mid-60s. And she's so used to taking care of children and to doing all these things, that I tried to take her to the spa, and it just didn't work. I was into the spa. She kept talking about, she didn't like the fact that the way the person was touching her, so I did what I liked and assumed that she would like the same thing. So I now said, Mommy, what would make you happy? What would you want to do that would alleviate your stress? And she said, you're stressed, you're not happy, all these things are going on. And she said, let's go to the movies. I want to go to the movies. Let's go to the movies. Or let's go to, this place to go and buy something, or let's go to this restaurant that I like. So sometimes we take the things that we feel like will help us with our anxiety, and then we transfer them into other people and assume that that's the same thing that they would want. So figure out who the person is, their likes and their dislikes, and possibly helping them through that anxiety. You would find out through the foundation of exactly who they are.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica. One more. Deborah, Ufoma says, please, is there a special way or strategy for managing stress related to chores?
So what do you mean by stress related to chores?
Okay, Ufoma, are you here? So we're sure that, she's getting the answer that she requires. I think she's out. She's not here. Oh.
Okay, let me just try to kind of give a basis, answer to that. I'm guessing she's saying that she finds chores stressful. So how to kind of deal with that. So we talked a little bit about that earlier when I talked about the three different approaches: action, emotion, and acceptance. So for hers, that would probably go into emotion. Oftentimes, the way we already think about things affects our ability to actually be able to do them productively, because you already say, I hate washing dishes. I don't like washing dishes. I hate ironing. So when you actually have to do that chore, you feel like I'm stressed out, I'm not happy, just because you've already psyched yourself up to believe exactly what it is that you were thinking. So we have to also be very careful with the things that we say, because we give life to those things. So even if they weren't there before, our mind is constantly now moving on that. So change it. I don't like to wash dishes, but at least when I wash dishes, I can listen to my favorite, artist while I'm washing dishes. So it makes the time even better. So you're processing the fact that you don't like to do this thing, but you're replacing it with a positive. So I don't like to wash dishes, but I know that when I wash dishes, my house will be clean, and I love a clean house. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much again, Dr.
You're
Jessica.
so welcome.
Do we have anyone with just one last question for Dr. Jessica? Do we have anyone? Okay, but Dr. Jessica, let me say that, 2 days ago, I had this conversation with a friend.
Okay.
And so it got somehow, and, he wasn't happy with what I was asking. I said, so you don't call us proud, because we know exactly what we deserve. So I'm saying I'm trying to give a scenario here. So I'm saying I want to sit on the chair and you want me to sit on the floor. And so I'm saying, no, I deserve to sit on the chair. And then you call me proud. So I was telling some of my friends, I think it was today, that there's this thing when we feel we want to be humble. You think you want to be, I don't want to be called proud, so you
Mm-hmm.
want to belittle yourself, or you want to feel so bad. Okay, I see you're muted. So how do you think, I like the fact that you mentioned it, you said something about, not being apologetic about your decisions or the boundaries that you set.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always say is there's humility and then there's false humility, right? You have to be able to understand the things that you want and be okay with them. And not everything deserves an explanation. If I believe that I deserve to sit on a chair, that's what I'm going to do. And if you put me in the situation where I have to challenge that, or I have to figure out if I'm saying the right thing or the wrong thing, then this is not where I need to be. We also need to be able to decide when some situations and environments no longer work for us and why it is that we're staying there. And like I said a few minutes ago before the line cut off as well too, is why is what this person is saying causing a trigger inside of me? Do I feel like I'm proud? Do I feel, is this something that people are continuously saying to me? And maybe it's something I need to check myself on, or no, this is just how this person is. So that all has to do with self-awareness. So if someone says something to you and you feel some type of way, step back and process, why do I feel like this? Why is what this person said affecting me? Now you also have the ability on how you're going to respond. Do I feel like this person deserves a response? Or do I feel like, you know what, I'm just going to sit on the chair? Or I just realized that this situation and environment no longer serves me, so I'm going to leave. You have the right to make those decisions, and we shouldn't outsource that decision making onto anybody, because it's always very easy to say, well, I left because they told me to leave. No, I left because I wanted to, because I didn't feel comfortable. So I mean, it's about knowing what you want as a woman and standing firm on that. These are my non-negotiables. I will not tolerate anyone speaking to me or looking down on me. And if it happens, I will walk away. So modeling that thought process already before it happens. If someone talks down to me, Jessica, what will you do? Because I feel like I need to approach it and say something, I am going to respond, and then I'm going to leave. Now, this hasn't happened, but I'm already modeling the thought in my head. So if I get to an event and Joker says, oh, Jessica, you know, why did you wear that dress? That's not a good color on you. I can say, blue is my favorite color. This is the best color on me, actually, and decide that, you know what, I don't want to stay here anymore and I'm leaving. So I'm not trying to figure out how to respond, because I've already modeled in my head what I am going to do before I get there. So I model it with everything. If I'm leaving my house, if there's traffic, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue going, or am I going to decide that this traffic is going to stress me out and I need to turn around? So if I meet traffic on the road, I already know that I said that no matter what, I'm going to this place, no matter what happens. And change my response of, yes, it stresses me out, but I'm going to play music because I have to get to this meeting. So I'm just going to find the positive in this and keep going.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you very much again,
You're
Dr.
so welcome. You're welcome.
All right, ladies, I think we have to run now. So Dr. Jessica is on Instagram, Zella Care. And
Excella, care.com.
Okay, ZellaCare.com on Instagram, and the personal handle, your
my personal handle is Dr. _ Jesse _ O. So what I'll do is I'll send you all that information, and then since you have the WhatsApp group, you can pass the information on to them. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get the handout too.
Definitely. I'll send the handout to you right now, both of them. So the handouts I'm going to send, one is also it's a combination of a lot of the things I spoke about today. Another one is an actual worksheet that you can fill in, so you can actually identify what your stressors are, how you respond to stressors, how you react to stressors, so you can actually see them. You're not thinking about them in your head, but you can actually turn it into an exercise and then figure out what to do next. So I'll send both of those documents to you as well as the handles.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica.
You're
Okay,
very
so
welcome.
let's do this. Can we give her a digital applause? Everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone, let's go. A digital applause. Thank you very, very
Thank you
much,
so
Dr.
much.
Jessica.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, ladies. So we'll see you at 6 o'clock for the nitty-gritty of personal finance. Thank you very much, everyone. See you. Please take this break and nibble on something and get to do something with family, and then we'll be back at 6 o'clock on the dot. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I see you guys. I see you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. All right. See you all.